On the battlefield, Cyan Vert is struggling in his final moments, defeated and gasping for air. Facing off against a formidable opponent, he feels the sting of betrayal from his once trusted ally, Boris. Boris, reveling in his victory, wears a sinister grin as he relishes in Cyan's downfall, orchestrated by their emperor. Cyan's anger boils as he questions the motives behind his betrayal. As Boris watches Cyan's transformation, engulfed in a crimson aura, he recognizes him as an assassin of the Mist faction. Boris, loyal to the Order of Light, sees Cyan as a threat that must be eliminated. Cyan, fueled by rage, desires to crush Boris immediately, but Boris counters with a powerful magical barrier, trapping them both. Desperate to escape and seek justice, Cyan vows to break the barrier and expose the true culprit. However, before he can act, a voice stops him cold. It's a shell, his own brother, standing before him, the one responsible for his betrayal. Cyan is devastated, floored by the betrayal of his own flesh and blood. A shell justifies his actions, claiming Cyan has served his purpose well. But Cyan struggles to comprehend why he's been betrayed in such a manner. Itel condemns a shell, accusing him of being consumed by darkness and losing his humanity. Cyan realizes the extent of his brother's deceit, having dedicated himself to their cause for 20 years, only to be discarded like a pawn. Enraged and disillusioned, Cyan disregards his own safety, determined to confront his brother and the injustice he's faced. He no longer cares about the consequences, fueled solely by his desire for retribution. The knights are shocked to see that Cyan's powers exceed those of a regular human. Cyan mocks his brother for being hailed as the greatest hero of their land, yet still feeling threatened enough by him to plot his demise. Cyan considers his brother's actions despicable and launches his attack. He aims to vanquish him with one decisive blow, targeting a vulnerable spot where his brother can't regenerate. However, Boris consistently intervenes in their duel, shielding each Ashel from any vulnerabilities with his barriers. Finally, one Ashel strikes his brother with a fatal blow, expressing his disdain for him in his last moments and revealing his lack of trust in Cyan throughout their lives. Cyan's transformation fades as he lies defeated and injured on the ground, unable to move, resigned to what he believes is his inevitable demise, feeling like a fool who danced to his brother's tune. He attempts one final attack on Itel, hoping to end him, but his blade is intercepted before it can reach its target. Itel drains Cyan's magic and dispatches him, using his god-tier sword. Cyan awakens gasping for air, greeted by his maid Emily, who reminds him it's time to prepare. Confused by Emily's presence and realizing he hasn't seen her in 20 years, Cyan recognizes his childhood room and familiar furniture. Examining his face, he discovers he has regressed to a childlike state. Emily chastises him for cowardice and skipping the sparring match at the Duke's castle, unaware that Cyan has no recollection of this event. Cyan confirms to himself that he has indeed traveled back in time and wonders if this is his life flashing before his eyes. He recalls the events of this day, which occurred 27 years ago, just before he entered the academy. In their territory, sparring matches were held at the start of each month, significant to his father, the Duke. Cyan's opponent was his half-brother, Kranz, who was the same age as him. Kranz's mom was Marbar Oris, the Duchess, and that's why, even though they were the youngest of 4 sons, Kranz ended up being the favorite and getting more attention. But, you know, there's always that one annoying person. Cyan, on the other hand, was a kid with unknown parents who faced a lot of embarrassment. Everyone made fun of him, even the emperor himself, who eventually lost interest in him. Now, Emily is saying he should just give up, but Cyan thinks he can win. He's surprised by how heavy the rapier is and feels pretty weak. He knows it's not a dream or some magic trick. He wonders if he's really gone back in time while Kranz mocks him for showing up. Little does he know the beating he's about to get. Cyan wonders if he can influence the outcome as they start their fight. Kranz charges at his brother, but Cyan dodges easily and quickly takes him down, making him look foolish. Both their parents are shocked, while Cyan's just itching for more. He remembers how Kranz treated him badly for fun, even at school. Cyan gets so mad he wants Kranz to remember this forever. Cyan just wants to live for himself and ends up getting beaten badly. The Duke cancels his plans to meet Cyan, impressed by his performance. Cyan remembers being escorted by the king's knight Yeren. When he meets the Duchess, he thinks she's back from the infirmary because of Cyan's beating. The Duchess is really mad about what he did to Crans and is about to leave when she starts bringing up Cyan's low social status. She's yelling at him for being rude because he's a bastard, hitting all of Cyan's nerves. Cyan, furious, gives her a deadly glare, thinking about ending her life then and there. Cyan figures he can make her suffer later, taking his time. He tells the Duchess that he's going to the academy with Cyan, warning her to worry about her son graduating intact. The Duchess is about to go full strict parent mode on Cyan, but Jurkin interrupts, saying they have a meeting. Cyan chuckles behind Jurkin, feeling like he's won this round. He knows Jurkin, the Duke's knight, always has his back, not bending to the Duchess's will. Cyan goes into his father's office and greets him politely, realizing it's the first time they've spoken in 15 years. Duke Willers Vert is a big deal, ruling over Voss, a western territory of the Wisef Empire. He's known as the Guardian of the Continent, a great hero with powerful magic and brains. He stopped a demon invasion and carried a burden nobody asked him to until he died during another demon invasion. His father's only wish was for peace on the continent. However, his memory of the man is slightly different, as he had been the one who chose to live his entire life in service to others. In the most respectful of words, Cyan thinks that his father is a fool. Duke Willers claims that Cyan knew the trajectory of the sword in a precise manner and recalls how Cyan lunged at him while Cyan responded by only slightly turning his body. He wants to know where Cyan learned the art of swordsmanship, indicating his clever perception. Cyan declares that he only trained by himself at night, but his father is no fool in this regard, and he recalls how the boy had no interest in the way of the sword in the past. He doesn't know how Cyan was able to hide this talent all along. Cyan confesses that he doesn't want to draw attention to himself, while his father believes that he has outclassed the likes of Crans by doing so. The Duke claims that his treatment at the end was unnecessary, a question which Cyan thinks is hard to get over. He doesn't know if this is to judge his character as a person. Cyan tells his father that he is only looking to prove himself. He wholeheartedly believes that he is superior to Crans and comes to the conclusion that superiority is the purpose behind the sparring matches. The Duke chuckles at his response and is impressed by his sharp answer. He confesses that Cyan will be an extraordinary asset to his brother Ashel one day. However, that's when Cyan freezes again. He relives his memories of being stabbed by his brother and realizes that nothing changed in the end, as his father is still obsessed with Ashel. Cyan is really irritated, but the Duke wants to give him a reward for winning the match and asks what Cyan wants. Cyan figures he'll just wreck everything that Ashel is working on and comes up with an interesting request. Then the scene changes to Emily, who's shocked that Cyan told his dad he wants to be on the front lines. She can't believe he asked for something so crazy because he'd have to deal with all sorts of monsters and demons. The Western Feud region of the Ushif Empire, the only place in the empire known as the front lines. The Lamau Valley is where the ongoing war against demons has been happening for centuries. His dad was totally against Cyan going there, but finally agreed with one condition. The Duke insisted Cyan become qualified within a month to enter the Lemia Valley. Only thing is, Cyan doesn't know what it takes to qualify yet. He figures he'll try to bulk up as much as possible to measure up to others. He's glad he's got battle instincts from his past life and feels some magic flowing through him. Cyan thinks if he pushes his body to the max, he'll be able to use his magic confidently and wants to start training right away. Ellis storms in to find Cyan, grabs him by the collar, and scolds him for wanting to go to the front lines. Cyan's sister is worried he's too confident after winning a simple spar match, so she calls him up to the rooftop. Under the night sky, Cyan faces off against Ellis. She challenges him to endure her attacks for 3 minutes if he wants to go to war. Cyan doesn't think it's necessary, but Ellis asks him a crucial question about carrying on the family name. Cyan's confused, but Ellis takes his silence as a yes and tells him to draw his sword. Cyan, tired from his earlier fight, is surprised when his sister attacks immediately. Ellis can't believe her 10-year-old brother deflects her first blow, and Cyan is shocked she's fighting him so seriously. Ellis is amazed he blocked her long sword with a tiny rapier. Unsure if it was luck, she praises his skill. Cyan knows he's in trouble as Ellis charges at him again. She tries to overpower him, and Cyan struggles to keep up. After a close fight, they step back, both exhausted. Cyan realizes he could have been hurt if he hadn't adjusted his sword during the exchange. Cyan accidentally could have killed his sister, realizing his skill in swordsmanship mainly involves swift killing. This makes it hard for him to fight without taking a life. He's struggling to gauge time and compensates for his weak strength by infusing mana into his sword, but even that has its limits. His sister, Ellis, possesses formidable strength, unlike him. In a desperate move, Ellis taps into earth and wind magic, enhancing her sword with powerful spells. While Cyan questions if his sister truly intends to harm him in this supposed test, Ellis, fueled by gamer rage, is determined not to lose. Cyan feels trapped, fearing he'll be knocked off the castle if he blocks Ellis's fierce attacks. Despite the odds, he chooses to trust his instincts and charges forward. However, their battle is interrupted by Jurkin, who intervenes and separates them, chastising Ellis for going too hard on a younger opponent. Cyan, surprised by Jurkin's appearance, relaxes. Ellis regains her composure, apologizes to her brother, and vows to protect him from frontline dangers. Cyan feels comforted by her apology and affection, recognizing his sister's tendency to push herself too far in everything she does. Ellis was the best of the best, acing all subjects at the Royal Academy, where only the most talented students gathered. People had always admired her not just for her smarts, but also for her beauty, calling her a real gift from the heavens since she was young. She was a skilled sword fighter, often seen as the future protector of the continent alongside the oldest son of Cyan Vert. But tragically, shortly after joining the Knights of Light, she met her end. Cyan still feels the ache of losing his sister and wishes he could keep her safe in this life. Ellis wonders why Jurkin is still around while their father heads off to war. The Duke's Knight reveals that he's been tasked with secretly guarding the young lord for a while. Cyan agrees, puzzled as to why his father would keep Jurkin's role a secret. Ellis, on the other hand, warmly embraces her brother, treating him like a little kid. The next day, Ellis returns to the academy briefly to see her father before graduation. Meanwhile, Cyan focuses intensely on his physical training, but despite his efforts, he hits a plateau. He remembers being confident in his strength in his past life and chuckles at his current state. Cyan receives a package from Ellis containing a vile-smelling substance, hellhound blood, a rare item from Lamia Valley. Though most consider it poisonous due to its stench, Cyan knows its true value. Consuming it permanently boosts mana and strength, a fact he's aware of from his past life experience. Emily can't believe he's about to drink blood, but Cyan does it anyway, while also insulting Emily's cooking. He thinks her mushroom soup was gross, making the blood seem better. After drinking, Cyan feels energized and announces he's going for a walk. He steps outside, realizing it's been a while since he's been out there. He'd been waiting for this day for 2 weeks, knowing Yulkin wouldn't be around to report him. Cyan remembers when his brother Ashel received a message from the god of light, Lendl, about an ancient temple hidden in the mountains. Initially skeptical, Cyan discovered it was a place full of mana. He knew more revelations were to come. Cyan plunges the field with his magic and thinks that not even his brother knows what he's conjuring right now. Cyan has successfully torn through a pathway and is thinking of exploring the temple. He stumbles inside and recalls how different it is from last time. The same place was an ancient temple that served the god of light, Luminol, until all of the history on this land is erased because of the god-demon war that happened 300 years ago. Cyan thinks that such a place was a miracle to exist in the mountains just behind the castle and sees the glow of the shiny blade, the owner of this temple, and its majestic glory. Further into the past, humanity finally succeeded in driving out the Demon King's army from Voss. The Demon King's army was far stronger than the humans, except mankind found the ancient relics called the gods' weaponry, allowing them to edge out on their victory. One of those relics, the Duran Arc, was a holy sword blessed by the god of light himself. This sword was deemed the leading cause of humanity's glorious victory against the demons, and became the very reason behind Cyan's demise in the future, as this sword lands in the hands of Cyan Vert. Cyan thinks that the blade Duran d'Arc is also responsible for his regression into the past. He inspects the blade and feels absolutely nothing. Cyan kicks the object in frustration and turns away annoyed, wanting to tend to his troubles before leaving. He recalls how the very shadow of the sword is a mystical item of its own. Cyan reflects that one might mistake this for being a mere shadow when it is actually the polar opposite of the light. It is the darkness that stands against the holy sword, having a pathway leading to another room guarded by the altar of light. Cyan stumbles into this room and finds his blade, the demon sword, Karam. Cyan wields the demonic object and realizes that Karam has yet to awaken fully. He is amazed by wielding his favorite weapon again and wants to slay something at once. A shadowy figure emerges and confronts a fearless boy who seems unfazed. Cyan casually informs the creature that he's now in possession of the sword. This doesn't sit well with the demon, who believes Cyan's decision is foolish and tries to take control of him. Cyan, however, manages to resist and reflects on the demon's previous behavior. Impressed by Cyan's resistance, the demon is taken aback. Meanwhile, Karam, sensing something familiar in Cyan, suspects he might be the successor she's been waiting for. Feeling the aura of her former master, Arrow, emanating from Cyan, she becomes convinced of his identity. Karam, frustrated by Cyan's youthful appearance, engages him in battle. Despite her efforts, Cyan gains the upper hand and immobilizes her using the sword's power. He advises her to accept her fate peacefully. Karam is surprised by Cyan's mastery over the blade, especially considering their first encounter. As Cyan continues to outmaneuver her, Karam eventually acknowledges him as her master. Cyan, feeling satisfied, contemplates returning home. Karam, on the other hand, is content to live freely. She communicates with a figure named Fan in a ghostly form and learns Cyan's name. She's astonished that someone as young as Cyan was chosen as the successor by Eru. Cyan hints at his past life, revealing that he has died once before, which confuses Karam further. The two of them find themselves facing Duran d'Arc, who remains in slumber. Cyan recalls that the blade's owner must wait 20 years before awakening the sword again. Karam finds it fascinating how someone talks as if they can predict the future. She's completely scared when Cyan tears off a piece of Duran, hoping to change what's to come. Many days go by, and Cyan finally faces up to the day of his challenge. The Duke meets the boy and questions why he's heading to the battlefield. Cyan responds poetically, declaring his intention to fight there. The Duke tells Yulkin to open a magic scroll, and Cyan wonders if they're planning to summon something. Yulkin summons a beast immediately, revealing a fiery hellhound. Cyan thinks it's an interesting challenge for his test, facing a low-ranked demonic beast from the Lamia Valley. He also notices how the Duke and his knights are ready to step in if he's defeated. The Duke reminds him to be accountable for his actions to prove his determination. Reflecting on how the boy sought his training before the 3-day deadline, Yulkin decides to help train him, despite Cyan's preference for a younger opponent. Sean persuades the knight to assist him in training, even though he's already tried that tactic. Yulkin decides to handicap himself, fighting with only his sword sheath and focusing on defense. Cyan asks for another favor, insisting on keeping their fight private. Yulkin is confused, but Cyan quickly attacks, surprising the knight with his skill despite his young age. Cyan demonstrates impressive speed, launching a surprise attack from behind. Their intense clash continues, with Cyan using heavy blows against the knight. Eventually, Cyan admits defeat, realizing he's not yet capable of defeating the Duke's knight. Cyan expresses gratitude to the knight for the intense training session, leaving Yulkin utterly stunned by the extent to which he's been pushed. In the moment, Yulkin realizes that Cyan can easily overcome any challenge thrown his way, even the menacing hellhound glaring at him. As the fight with the beast begins, Cyan swiftly counters its lunges with his rapier, recognizing that despite his current strength, battling a monster is not in his favor. He aims to end the confrontation quickly, delivering a fatal blow to the hellhound. His victory stuns the knights and earns admiration from his father. Cyan considers collecting the beast's blood as a resource, but refrains from any conspicuous actions to avoid suspicion. Impressed by his son's abilities, the Duke personally invites Cyan to join him on the battlefront. Cyan expresses gratitude to his father, while Kairem complains about being treated like a mere tool. Kairem, craving blood to regain her strength, is assured by Cyan that she'll have plenty of use in the future, encouraging her to look forward to it. That's all for today. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll upload the second part when this video gets 10 likes. Till then, bye.